Hey, is this your ride? Huh? Oh, shit. Guess not. Okay. God, I suck without a scope.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Star Wars Day is coming up, and I couldn't pass up the opportunity to do a run based on a Star Wars character. I was thinking of doing one as Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker, but I thought doing a run as a generic Stormtrooper was kind of funny. Today we're going to figure out if a Stormtrooper can beat Fallout 4. I'll get into the rules and mods I used further into the video. With that being said, let's get into the video. Our main man today is Bob, 34 years of age and a loving husband and a new father to a baby boy. He's also a career soldier of the Galactic Empire, who is on some R&R for a terrible work-related accident. He was just relaxing with his family when he was approached by a representative of the Empire, who asked him to fill out some paperwork. At first I thought about making Bob the most average person in the universe, but then thought it would be funny if I lean into the Stormtroopers can't aim worth a shit joke. I decided to not use VATS at all for this challenge, and my stats reflected that by taking the points out of perception, agility, and luck, and dump them into charisma and intelligence. As Stormtroopers are supposed to be intimidating, and nearly everyone in Star Wars is extremely intelligent when it comes to spaceships and technology for some reason. With all that taken care of, I played with my child just before getting warned about the nukes that are being dropped. I sprinted my way to the conveniently placed bunker nearby, and watched as the world goes to complete shit. The Imperial scientists make us step into a cryopod to decontaminate ourselves. You'd think we'd have seen this coming. I got de-thawed just to see my wife get domed and my son get kidnapped by a fucking cereal box before getting refrozen. I finally got freed from the ice and ran through the vault, trying not to get my ass eaten by rad roaches. Royally fucking up on that front as I couldn't figure out how to use a fucking door. I would have punched the rad roaches, but I'm a stormtrooper, not a clone trooper. Alright, got it now. Fuck! I got to the end of the vault and grabbed the Pip-Boy before emerging into the nuclear shithole. Nearby the entrance to the vault, I found a horde of Stormtrooper armor and helmets. The mod I used for this was Stormtrooper armor and Stormtrooper helmet respectively, both created by Suredude. The armor is pretty cool, but my hands are a little cold. Moving on, I raised my endurance with the special book, grabbed the chemistry station, and looked through all the different Stormtrooper armor I could craft. However, I lacked the stuff to craft any of this, and soon left Sanctuary, only to find a dead trooper in the street. This is possible with Imperial Patrols of the Commonwealth by Outside the Box 884. This changes every raider in the Commonwealth to Stormtroopers, which makes them far more dangerous than normal. I also grabbed E11 Blaster Rifle Replacer, which is also by Outside the Box 884. This replaces every energy weapon in the game to the E11 Blaster Rifle from Star Wars, the primary weapon of the Stormtroopers. The armor from the Patrol mod is actually better than the other armor I was wearing, and big bonus, I have gloves. I tested out my new blaster out on some big-ass mosquitoes before stumbling upon a patrol of fellow Stormtroopers. I didn't know what they were shooting at, so I just joined in with them, only for them to turn their guns on me. I didn't know what had gotten into them, but I wasn't about to let them kill me. I was surprised by how much damage the blaster could actually do to me, even though my armor gave quite a bit of protection. I checked out VATS for a second and had a good laugh at my sheer fucking accuracy.
Ah! Good God! It's hideous, but beautiful in an ugly way. But mostly hideous. Ugh.
Trying to fight these troopers was slightly difficult as I ran out of ammo quickly, and the scope on the rifle didn't really help out with my shit aim. I quickly devolved into spraying and praying my blaster bolts at them, and using environmental attacks to finish off the rest. I made it inside and fought off the remaining troopers, making sure to grab the energy cells they dropped to keep my own blaster topped off with ammo. I took out another trooper and somehow got him stuck in the door like an idiot, and talked with the Minutemen before immediately going back outside and focusing on the dipshit who wasn't wearing any armor. At some point I accidentally spawned the Deathclaw, and for a second I enjoyed watching it maul the other Stormtroopers, before it suddenly decided to make a beeline straight for me, and I ran away like a little bitch to the nearby hardware store. The other troopers were actually able to put up a fight unlike the normal raiders, whittling down the Deathclaw's health as it focused on me. I was able to get the final hit on the beast, and took out the remaining troopers before grabbing their sweet energy cells. I talked with the Minuteman, grabbed the Rifleman perk, which I thought would be the perk that would increase my blaster damage. I was wrong, but I didn't figure that out until later. I went through the blaster's different upgrades before meeting back up with Preston to finish off their quest. I checked out my armor in the armor workbench and was surprised to find the sheer number of different options for customization. I was very tempted to wear this one. I made my way to a diner and intimidated a couple of idiots to stand down. However, I overestimated my charisma and turned them hostile against me, but my lasers work a lot better than their bullets. After that, I found myself helping out Paladin Dance with his feral ghoul problem. I enjoyed the smell of blaster fire in the air as I easily mowed down the incoming horde. I must say that I was surprised how strong the blaster was in this run. I talked with Dance after repelling the ghouls, and soon was helping him retrieve a piece of technology. We stumbled on a patrol of stormtroopers, and at this point, I decided to do the majority of my fighting by hip-firing my gun. I just aimed in their general direction and hoped for the best. The level I got from them went into the science perk to upgrade my blaster further. Me and Dance finally made it to Arcjet, and I had an encounter with some stupid-looking droids. Further in, I went to use the bathroom and left Dance to fight for his life in the giant engine room, before cooking him like a giant can of beans. With that taken care of, we took out the last few droids, grabbed the piece of technology we came for, and I got rewarded with a cursed-looking weapon.
What? It's just an ordinary crabby. Oh my goodness!
I went back to Sanctuary to upgrade my blaster, found that I lacked the necessary components, and did a quick run to some vendors, before returning and upgrading my blaster into an automatic weapon. I thought, if I'm spraying and praying, might as well go all out. I took my new blaster for a spin with beautiful effect, discovered green tech genetics for later, as well as a random church which made my trigger finger very itchy for some reason. I took some of my pent up anger out on some nearby super mutants, which results in my legs getting blown up. That doesn't mean they stopped at my legs though.
Oh, poop.
I even got to take out a suicider without it blowing up, before finally reaching Good Neighbor, and teaching Finn a lesson on not fucking with a soldier of the Empire. I did some shopping before returning to my mutant killing at a nearby hideout. This brought me to Swan's Pond, where I got curious and poked a strange thing in the center. Holy shit! I'm sorry. I immediately began spraying the monster with blaster bolts, trying to get the thing stuck on terrain so that I could make some distance between us. At some point, the fat ass got stuck on some steps. I tried to run and was thankfully able to get off a few shots before the big bastard turned my helmet into a cracked nut. After giving my armor a fresh brown coat, I introduced red-hot lasers to Triggerman and their stupid vests. Fighting through these wannabe gangsters like they're nothing made me feel unstoppable. Using the firepower from this blaster and the sheer speed at which I can send bolts down range made me realize that this challenge wasn't going to be super hard. Now it's just a question of how badass can I make Bob. I made my way through the vault, humiliating any Triggerman that were unlucky enough to get in my way, until I finally took out Dino and saved the droid detective. Question, are there droids in Star Wars like Synths? Human looking, I mean. Most of the ones I can think about all look like robots, but I'm not well versed in Legends material. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Me and Nick made our way through the rest of the vault before dealing with Skinny like everything else. Suits and cocktail dresses don't really do much against lasers to the face. I met Nick outside and told him I'd meet him at his agency, but I quickly got distracted by blowing up some ghouls. I even got one stuck in a burning purgatory before putting it out of its misery. I paid a quick visit to the local library to grab the intelligence bobblehead, as well as the opportunity to unload on a massive army of super mutants who picked the worst time possible to invade, getting shot down by a man in blood-stained armor with a whole lot of anger issues. With the help of the other droids in the library, the mutants didn't stand much of a chance. They even tried to set me on fire, but that just kept me warm as I shot them like fish in a barrel, leaving nothing but carnage in my wake. Wiping the mutant blood off my armor, I finally made it to Diamond City, where I immediately steal Kellogg's house key for later, did the interview with Valentine, and quickly found Kellogg's secret sex dungeon. Where's that Rancor dildo? I left to find Dogmeat, and before we set off in search of Kellogg, I made sure to keep the peace like a true soldier of the Empire. I made sure to pay my settler friend a visit, which resulted in me atomizing her, before going after a couple of her friends in the back of the building, just for the fun of it. Ooh, a car. I finally reached Kellogg's hideout, and for once I didn't hesitate or prepare, and immediately went on the attack with his defenses. Kellogg's droid guards were not able to do much damage to me as I made my way through their compound, my automatic blaster leaving nothing left in its wake. I entered Kellogg's hideout with well over 1,000 energy cells for my blaster, but the damn thing loves to chew through ammo. Definitely not because of my poor aim, by the way. Thankfully, the droids were also carrying their own selection of energy cells, but nowhere close to enough to recoup the amount I used to take take down Kellogg's guards. Don't even get me started on the number of shots it took to finally take down Kellogg. That might sound like he was a difficult fight. Not at all. The only pain in the ass was the fact the bastard loved to turn invisible, and it was an annoying job to find him. So I just decided to spray and hope for the best. With Kellogg dead, I grabbed his shit, downloaded his search history, which had an unsettling amount of Wookiees in it, before exiting and witnessing a poor man's Star Destroyer. I returned to Diamond City to stock up on some stim packs, talked with Valentine on my findings, sent Dogmeat back to Sanctuary, before sliding Kellogg's slippery brains into Dr. Amari's beautiful hands. I tried my best not to fall asleep before learning of the man I needed to find. Along the way to find Virgil, I exterminated a group of super mutants, had a massive fight with an Alpha Deathclaw, completely heedless of me running low on ammo. That didn't stop me from picking a fight with another Deathclaw in the glowing sea, one that was almost ended by a big fucking green explosion. I dealt with a nearby horde of feral ghouls, and even though my blaster fire went right through them like wet toilet paper, I was only left with about a magazine and a half of ammo. I was planning on fighting the Deathclaw guarding Virgil's cave, but upon realizing that it's a fucking legendary, I decided to just sneak inside. I spoke with Virgil, but was swiftly distracted by a mod I had forgotten to uninstall. Energy Blades by Dmagnus, a mod that adds lightsabers to the game, but this is the first one I had found. I know I really shouldn't. Do it. Ooh, this is so badass. Fuck the rules. If Sergeant Creel can wield a lightsaber, then so can Bob! Emboldened by my brand new beaten stick, I charged the legendary Deathclaw in a jet-fueled haze, thankful for getting the chemist perk earlier in the run to make my drugs last even longer. This allowed my shots to hit much easier. It also helped that the Deathclaw was a massive scaly target that had trouble moving around on the rocky terrain as I floated over, high out of my mind. I returned to Sanctuary and was super surprised to find the sheer amount of customization I could do to this lightsaber. From the obvious ones like the hilt and blade color, I could even change the swing speed. I could make this thing look awesome. However, I was surprised to find a Stormtrooper hilt in the options and thought might as well stick to the Stormtrooper color scheme and turn my blade white. My saber can also be upgraded with more levels of the science perk, but that would have to wait. For now, I have my very own badass lightsaber. Well, fuck. I tested my lightsaber on naked rats, as well as some nearby stormtroopers, so that I'm able to collect their energy cells, making sure to also grab their blasters as they give me what's inside their magazine, which is 100 cells. When I made it inside, I tried to take out as many as I could with my saber, but when the whole fucking building decided to try and kill me, I was forced to switch to my blaster, hiding in the side room and poking myself out here and there to spray my hot load over my fellow troopers until there's nothing left of them but crispy corpses. I continued my carnage through the car factory, until I overestimated how much punishment I was able to take and was taken out by one of the last enemies. I didn't make the same mistake the second time, and I rushed the captain who was stupid enough not to wear his fucking helmet, making his neck the perfect target for my blade. I fought my way through the rest of the soldiers and harvested the ones on the outside for their energy cells, before finally making my way to the Green Tech Genetics in order to hunt down a Courser droid, using the gunners in my way as target dummies and places to stick my burning hot rod. That is until I lost track of my health and was killed halfway up the tower. Going again, I made sure to be even more ruthless, spraying anything that moved, and slowly learned how to use my saber to great effect. The strange thing about my lightsaber, whenever I have it out, it seems to make my surroundings less bright in comparison. I don't know if its light is drowning out the light of my Pip-Boy or what, however it's a small thing and doesn't dampen my joy of cutting idiots down. Coming to the missile gunner, I began pre-firing while I turned the corner, and didn't let up on the trigger until I either got their XP or I ran out of ammo. Thankfully I got the former rather than the latter, finally reaching the Courser, surprising the hell out of him by jumping out of nowhere while being high on jet and unloading my blaster into his squishy droid body, not stopping even after he lost all of his health.
My God, what the fuck?
I pulled out the Courser's crispy butt plug and granted a man's wish.
You're going to kill me, then do it.
I saved the droid woman before making my way to a random church. I cleared out the ghoul infestation inside and solved a very stupid lock. I smell rebels. I dealt with them so badly, Tinker Tom got stuck in between the living and the dead. I made sure he chose correctly. I got the butt plug analyzed, stole all the supplies I could get my hands on, and had an intense staring contest with a future scene droid. I made my way back to Virgil in order to get his teleporter plans, and talked to Preston about getting his help with the machine. However, before he helped me, I needed to help out a nearby settlement first. I went and talked with a woman with way too much lipstick, who said they had trouble with a raider group in an old car factory. Way ahead of you. I returned to Preston, talked with Sturgis, and began building the teleporter, only for me to be missing some components. I went out to some traders in search of the stuff I needed.
Oh, wow, you're tall.
My search for components brought me to a feral ghoul-infested comic book store, and was forced to fight through the rabid Star Wars Legends fans in order to find a random sensor module in a random side room. Leave your favorite Star Wars comic in the comments below. I'm looking for some good recommendations. I made sure to finish off the rest of the feral ghouls that were inside the building, mowing down the Mountain Dew addict before he could rip my throat out. I returned to Sanctuary to finish off the teleporter, powered it up, and got to feel what it's like being in Star Trek. Ah! I think that just turned my asshole inside out. I made sure to download their secrets, grabbed the second rank of the science perk, and finally found my missing son. Enraged by seeing him locked behind a cage, I lashed out against the old fart who didn't even take a step before he found my lightsaber up his ass. I tried in vain to slice through my son's lock, forcing my way back to the teleporter and hacked my way through the few synth guards that were in my way, when I got attacked by the last synth. I wasn't worried at all, he was armless. I'm so sorry. I finally got to the teleporter. There was a great big flash. Everything just changed. My molecules got all rearranged. Phantom. Sorry, I was watching Danny Phantom and got the theme song stuck in my head. I returned to Sturgis to drop off the holotape. I then thought it couldn't hurt to go check up on the Brotherhood. They are the closest to the Empire if I had to guess. Well, with them being super militaristic and also racist, I got to enjoy a quick fly over the Commonwealth. Attended a meeting with the Emperor's Chad cousin, and randomly sent Dance to the airport. I went through and met with the 4 proctors before meeting up with Maxon to get a new mission. I did my favorite way to reach the ground from the Pridwin, and immediately made my way to Fort Strong, a place that is crawling with a shit ton of super mutants, as well as a massive behemoth. I focused on the smaller forces first of all, before popping a jet and blasting away at the big fucker. Melting through the behemoth's health like it was nothing until it dropped dead. I made my way into the fort and continued to unload on the mutants that got in my way. I used the same method of attack against the mutants lower in the building, especially against the bastard with the missile launcher, who I focused most of my fire until it went down. I took out the last legendary mutant with my lightsaber, enjoying the smell of cooking meat as I met up with Paladin Dance to finish the quest. With that quest finished, Maxon learned that I had made contact with the Institute and wanted me to infiltrate their compound to find a very specific scientist. I don't know. I tried to tell him that it's too late for that, and he just starts yelling at me for putting the Institute on high alert. I didn't really like getting yelled at, and decided to say fuck the Brotherhood. I'll make my own army, thank you very much. However, first I upgraded my blaster and lightsaber, before going off to take out some Stormtroopers in a strange fight club. I tried to join in and enjoy the fight, but they decided I would be more fun to fight, and I had to teach them the error of their ways by systematically destroying their numbers. I finished off the last few troopers and stole their ammo, before gaining access to a drug-loving Irish woman, who I made 100% hotter. Now, while I was leveling up, I remembered that the Righteous Authority was also an E11 blaster. That got me wondering if the other legendary laser weapons also got turned into them as well. With that thought, I started looking for a very specific location to get a legendary weapon. I even got into another fight with a Deathclaw along the way, and obliterated a random trooper. I finally reached the location, and was soon surprised to find a droid with a fucking lightsaber running at me. I was thankfully able to disarm it and take it out, but you know what that means.
A fine addition to my collection.
I made it to where the legendary was located, and if you know what the gun is, you know it's absolutely insane. However, I forgot it required me unlocking a master lock. Good thing I got an expert at lockpicking. While we were there, I tried giving her the lightsaber I found, but the idiot was trying to hold the thing by the blade. I took it away before she hurt herself, and made her tickle the air around the lock, and almost immediately she got the thing unlocked. I was very surprised how fast that was. I hit the secret button, and grabbed the never-ending E11 blaster, allowing me to continue firing until I ran out of ammo. Can you imagine how good that is with an automatic weapon? I sent Kate back to Sanctuary, and did another ammo run on the Stormtroopers in Concord. I went back to upgrade my legendary blaster, and took it for a spin, but I was immediately destroyed by multiple blaster rounds to the face. Oh, look at all the vertibirds. Okay guys, come on, I turned around for a fucking second. wanting to test out my new gun. I took it to the Minuteman castle and unloaded on all the different crustaceans that got in my way. The Mirelurks didn't stand a chance against my lasers, especially not the eggs, which I destroy meticulously. I continued to destroy Mirelurks and eggs until the queen finally appeared. The fight with the queen was not hard at all, as I just held down the trigger and popped some jet for the cool looking slow motion. I continued to shoot until the queen's health got very low, and I pulled out my big white burning saber and slapped it against the queen until I couldn't take anymore. With the queen finished, I powered up the giant recruitment beacon and began sending companions to the castle, starting with my droid buddy Codsworth, Kate, who I gave a minigun to. I then went and recruited Piper and the droid detective. I had to go back and send Kate again as I'd forgotten to pick the castle. I was out leveling up again when a ship fell out of the sky and crashed nearby. One mutated bear later, I found the crash site and the ship looked very familiar. I followed a blood trail to a nearby cave and was surprised to find someone I knew. Is that Jerry? Jerry from the 8th grade? Hey man, how you doing? How are the kids? How's the wife? Hey Jerry, it's me, it's Bob. Don't shoot. Stop shooting. Don't make me do this, Jerry. Damn it, Jerry. Saddened by having to kill my friend, I tried to distract myself by helping settlements, which sends me off to take out a feral ghoul problem in a town square, involving a lot of explosions that itched my brain just right. I made my way into the nearby subway station to finish off the rest of the ghouls before fighting off a bunch of naked mole rats in order to set up a brand new settlement. I returned to Preston to turn in the completed missions, and he tells me he wants to clear out the castle from earlier. He was surprised to find out that I had already cleared it out, and I quickly met up with him and his Minutemen at the castle to get more settlement missions. I gave some Stormtrooper armor to Preston, the Limbo Master. I went and grabbed Dance to increase my firepower before going to complete more missions. This quest brought me to a giant droid racetrack where I didn't hesitate to join in the competition. I sprinted down the straight, easily passing by a couple of Mr. Handies, but I run out of sprint just before I passed the eyebot. I begin to get shot at by the spectators, and I decide to use the tools at my disposal to bring out the victory. The other droids weren't happy about my legitimate win, and I was forced to take them down, especially before Iron Maiden reduced me to ashes. After dealing with the droids, I began to deal with the spectators that littered the entire racetrack. There were so many of them, I think I left the place with over 1,000 more energy cells than I arrived with. I finished off the ringleader and scared the shit out of an unfortunate stormtrooper who had somehow slept through my entire massacre. Another settlement quest brought me to Sunshine Tidings Co-op in order to set up a new settlement, which was almost immediately attacked by some super mutants. After finishing off the mutants, I went and got blown up by a suicidal mole rat. Aside from that, I made my way through a satellite station filled with stormtroopers, which I made sure to take care of so I am able to grab a specific locket for a nearby settlement. After that, I kind of freaked out as I got swarmed by a shit ton of rad roaches. I returned the locket to the settlement, completing even more of the Minutemen quests. I'm not sure how many quests it takes before Ronnie Shaw shows up, but it is enough to make these missions annoying after a while. I went out to level up some more, but bit off more than I could chew when I had tried to attack an Imperial outpost. I went around and outfitted Piper and even Dance, which looked pretty funny. I returned to Sanctuary in order to upgrade my lightsaber's damage, before going off to another settlement. They sent me off to a trailer park in order to clear out a bunch of ghouls that were somehow threatening the settlement. I somehow discovered a legendary double-barrel shotgun that would have been awesome during my other challenge video. Go check that out, by the way. On the edge of the park, I nearly got blown up by a couple of mines, which were set outside a locked trailer. Being stubborn, I found out that I am able to reach the power armor from the back window, and I am able to enter the armor, allowing me to get inside the trailer. However, now that I was inside, I was now locked in and unable to get out. That would be true if I didn't have the ability to fast travel away. I used that ability to go to Hangman's Alley to clear out all the hostiles, including one dumbass who wasn't even wearing any trooper armor. I set up the recruitment beacon, nearly got blown up by a suicider due to me standing far too close to the bastard. I enjoyed some exploding cars before hitting another outpost due to them kidnapping a settler. I took them out and made sure to collect their armor so I could give it out to the Minutemen back at the castle. I dealt with the stormtroopers and grabbed the settler before finishing off anything else that got in our way. I returned to the castle to suit up my soldiers, and after turning in my completed quests, Ronnie Shaw finally decided to appear. With her here, I began the familiar defense setup that I usually do for the castle defense, building guard barricades in the holes of the castle walls. At some point I got bored and left to fight some nearby gunners and super mutants in order to level up, allowing me to grab the local leader perk in order to connect my settlements to share their inventories. I did a quick massacre run to Concord to grab some more armor so that I could outfit my radio operator, as well as my 2 provisioners that I set up between Sanctuary and the castle. I returned to the castle and finally spoke with Ronnie so that I could access the armory. One sentry bot later, a terminal unlocked, and fucking Houdini who somehow got inside the armory. I grabbed the artillery plans as well as the laser turrets from the armory before moving the crafting stations in order to browse through the armor options. Earlier, I grabbed Kate's helmet and wanted to find a way to differentiate between my companions and the regular Minutemen, which led to me turning everyone's head into a fucking glow stick. Reloading an old save fixed the problem, but I decided to find a different way to make my companions stand out. I found some Stormtroopers in the rundown hardware store and stole their pauldrons. I thought they would make enough of a distinction in order to tell my troopers apart. I gave my companions the pauldrons and set up a farm to feed my army, before I finally set up the artillery cannon. I even set up the laser turrets. However, I then found the heavy laser turret option, but they required the 3rd rank of the science perk. Deciding that I wanted some of those heavy turrets, I went out with the main goal of leveling up, stumbling upon 2 Deathclaws who were in a battle to the death. That is until one of them ran away like a little bitch. I was forced to kill the first one before fighting the second one being attacked by bloatflies and ultimately getting its head ripped off by an assaultron. That poor bastard. Oh shit! Aside from nearly getting my ass singed off, I made sure to take out the assaultron for the XP before paying the Enclave a quick visit. With the help of some Jet and Psycho, the Enclave soldiers didn't stand much of a chance. Even the power armor soldier got melted by my lasers. The main reason I came here was for the Hellfire power armor, but not for me. The armor looks good on Dance, but I wanted to fix it up before giving it to him. I went to Sanctuary to do that, but forgot I had left the power armor back at Concord. One quick walk over to the museum, and I am finally able to fix up the armor. I tried to give the armor to Dance, but he couldn't carry it because it was too heavy somehow. I was forced to trick his AI into finally putting the armor on. One quick modification to his helmet, and I made him look fucking badass. Remembering my reason for leveling up, I was going to need a shit ton of fiber optics for the actual turrets. An awesome source of fiber optics can be found at Jamaica Plain. However, first I needed to take out a massive horde of feral ghouls that have taken up residence in the town, allowing me to get a good amount of XP while I was at it. I had to grab the mayor's ID from a rundown church and clear out the mayor's offices, before finally reaching the hallway filled with laser tripwires. Each tripwire gives a fiber optic, allowing me to stock up on a good amount. That is until my dick tip accidentally tripped one of the lasers and caused the turrets to open fire on me. I grabbed the treasure of Jamaica Plain while I was down there, before making my way to the Dunwich Boars in order to fight some high-level troopers. This was mainly to get XP from them, and I tried to focus on using my lightsaber to finish off the enemies.
Surprise, motherfucker.
I soon found myself in an all-out droid melee, all to grab another droid companion for the castle. At one point I thought about making a gunner farm in order to get even more XP, but I must say, when you don't have the Idiot Savant perk, I don't think it's very effective as an XP farm. With that being said, I decided to go out and farm XP the old-fashioned way, as well as getting my revenge on the troopers that were able to kill me earlier in the run. That is until I mistook a suicider for a regular mutant. That didn't go well, and I was soon introduced to the fucking sun! Needing to take out some anger on some super mutants, I found a wild behemoth and let loose on my blaster fire, making sure it knew what lasers felt like on its skin. That is until it got low and I charged at it with my lightsaber, being able to poke him in the nipple and take him down. I dealt with some nearby ghouls who were obsessed with Barbie, as well as some stormtroopers who were unable to fly a damn vertibird. That is until I got distracted by a guy named Htucker running away from me at top speed.
I'm fast as fuck, boy.
I ran after him and wanted to use my lightsaber to finish him off. However, when I began hitting him, another stormtrooper comes out of fucking nowhere, allowing Htucker to vanish from the fight and escape. I saw another vertibird disaster, found a legendary trooper while I was trying to clear out the town. That's when I found Htucker, and I instinctually stabbed him in the dick with my lightsaber. My XP farming brought me to the glowing sea in order to fight some harder enemies, and even found the Enclave headquarters. I was so powerful that only a couple of shots from my blaster was enough to finish off a full power armored soldier, meaning that everything else inside the building didn't really put up much of a fight against me. There's only room for one authoritarian government in the wasteland, and it's not the Enclave. Reaching the roof, I got blasted in the face by fucking lightning, but I was thankfully able to power through the pain and finish off the soldiers. I got to deal with a vertibird, adding it to the long list of explosions. I then got attacked by the last few soldiers, who were actually able to do some damage against me, but that didn't stop me from adding their shiny metal ass to the radioactive dirt. Returning to Boston, I think I was given multiple different cancers while fighting a bunch of Child of Adam guys. My lightsaber soon found some Mirelurk flesh to burn, while making my way through an old tanker ship, one crawling with a shit ton of stormtroopers who loved to clump up and make aiming far easier. I was able to finish off the captain while I was at it, grabbed the agility bobblehead, and unlocked the 4th rank of the big leagues perk. I paid a quick visit to the 3rd rail to pick up a giant mungo, before hitting up Gunner's Plaza to farm some more enemies, only to find a guy with a legendary minigun with the kneecapper effect, crippling my legs every time I got hit. I decided to pop a jet and power through the damage output and finish off the legendary gunner. At some point, some Brotherhood soldiers appear, and the guy with the fat man on the roof began firing at a circling vertibird, not wanting to be blown up by a random mini nuke. I climbed to the roof and dealt with the guy before he could do any more stupid shit. I made it inside and enjoyed all the XP I was able to get from the gunners. There wasn't really much to talk about during this location, other than having to kill a named gunner to get the key to the broadcasting room, the main spot with the gunner captain on the inside, as well as the small guns bobblehead. Getting close to the level that I wanted, I ended up fighting off Mirelurk Kings as they tried to rip me to shreds. That is until I am finally able to reach level 28, and celebrated by destroying the last king as it tried to swim away. I grabbed the 3rd rank of the science perk, upgraded my blaster to the highest it could go, as well as a strange box on the side of the gun that increases the damage. I returned to the castle and finally began to set up the heavy laser turrets in key choke points so they could do massive damage. I even used power pylons like a nerd. I set up some normal turrets as well, gave McCready his armor, and finally finished off Ronnie Shaw's mission by enjoying a massive fireball in the nearby parking lot. With that quest finished, the castle defense mission immediately started up and the Institute began their attack. The battle started out by me seeing the Institute droids off in the distance already fighting something. Not wanting them to have all the fun, I met the droids halfway and proceeded to shove my blaster bolts down their robotic throats. Aside from my constant barrage of blaster fire, my turrets and stormtroopers also do a lot to push back the onslaught of droids, especially on the inside of the castle. I don't even think I needed to shoot much before my heavy turrets were able to destroy them. Most of my time was spent in the back of the castle, which is where I usually spend most of my time whenever I do the Minutemen ending. The amount of droids that the Institute sent our way was staggering, but they were ultimately not able to do much to me at this point. The amount of time I spent preparing for this was very well worth it, as everyone with armor on was able to stay up much longer than what they would be able to normally. At some points it was a bit confusing, I must say, to fight as the droids also had the same color scheme as my stormtroopers, and I sometimes found myself firing on some of my own soldiers by mistake. However, as the waves continued, we slowly but surely chewed our way through their numbers until there was nothing left, allowing us to complete the mission. I was very proud of my galactic army. With the castle defense finished, I paid a quick visit to Sturgis in order to learn how to bring the fight to the Institute instead. I made my way to their back door, doing some last minute killing on my way. I was able to find the secret access tunnel underneath the river, punched in a special password, and once again nearly got killed by the first 2 turrets. I made sure to finish off the ghoul infestation along the way, and a later turret immediately took its revenge on me for its brothers. I made sure to be more careful next time, dealt with the droids in between me and the teleporter. Fuck yeah! I finished off the last few guards, activated the relay station, and brought the Minutemen into the Institute. I was a little disappointed when my stormtroopers didn't teleport with Preston, but I was soon distracted by Jet and a lightsaber that was able to cut through the incoming droids like they were made of tissue paper, which is how a lightsaber should work. The mixture of being able to one-shot things as well as the slowed down time makes for a very fun time. I made short work of the droids as I went, swinging my lightsaber like my life depended on it, which it kinda did, even though their shots didn't do much damage to me. I made it to the hydroponics lab and ripped my way through the waiting scientists and their guards, including their robotic monkeys, who got to experience my lightsaber firsthand. Entering the atrium area, I popped a drug that increased each of my special points by 2, as well as giving me the ability to taste colors. In my drug-induced bender, I blasted through anything that moved, including scientists who were just running around like a bunch of idiots. I don't think I let up on the trigger until everything was dead, not even when the black armored droid came at me with a lightsaber. I was thankfully able to take it out and steal it from my collection. I dealt with the last of the synths and tried out my new saber while on the way to Father's terminal. That is until I stumbled upon an eldritch horror.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
I slowly made my way around the monster, careful not to anger it before shutting down the Institute's lockdown, and continuing my absolute massacre. I even sent a synth corpse flying out of nowhere. At some point, I think I had taken far too many drugs and my screen was starting to look like a Smurf had pissed on it. I went through the last line of defenses before reaching the reactor room, but I think a force user was on the inside, as they made my screen glitch out like crazy. I thought my game was going to crash for a second, and I backed off to reset. I was able to deal with most of the droids that were guarding the reactor from the safety of the side room. However, the droid with the missile launcher was a pain in my ass, and I made sure to pop a jet and book it straight to the bastard. During my attack, I got a funny shot of a slow motion Molotov cocktail sailing through the air and nailing the synth right in the face before I am able to take it down. I was able to set the bomb, growing a second lightsaber in the process.
If you know what I'm talking about.
We got beamed out of there. I grabbed my son and I told Sturgis to ready the teleporter. With one more ball-sucking flash of light, I am transported to the top of the mass fusion building. I pressed the big button, and in a flash of light, the Institute went up into a massive fireball, proving that yes, you can beat Fallout 4 as a Stormtrooper. Thank you for everyone who was able to make it this far into the video. I hope you all enjoyed the video and have a wonderful day. I apologize for the slower uploads lately. I have gotten rather busy at my job and was struggling to find time to work on videos. That doesn't mean I'll be stopping anytime soon. Don't worry about that. With that being said, thank you again for coming out. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you again next time. Love you guys. See ya.